They talked about purchasing an older home that needed some work. I mean, my first home had good bones, but cosmetically was one of the ugliest things I had ever seen. I didn't even really want to buy it. But we spent time, a lot of time and some money ripping out the green shag carpeting and replacing some countertops and slowly doing those things, which will in turn also help you build equity in your home.
Hello and welcome to On Your Block. We're your hosts, Jeff Anklam
And Pam Beattie with Waterstone Mortgage, Fox Valley.
Every episode, we dig into the questions people are actually asking on Reddit, Quora, and everywhere in between. And we bring you honest, no fluff answers from people who live and work in the mortgage industry every day. We're based right here in the Fox Valley, so along the way, we'll keep things grounded in what's happening across Northeast Wisconsin, because real estate isn't one size fits all, and where you live matters. At the beginning of every episode, we like to highlight a local small business that's doing great work in our area. Today's small business feature is Mosquito and Pest Authority here in the Fox Valley. I know Kendall Kirkpatrick, the owner, from my B&I group, and he's done a fantastic job. I've used him personally. He's helped me out at my cottage. Literally, it is somewhat next to a swamp because it is on a lake, but literally no mosquitoes. We can go outside on our deck and enjoy the entire summer, weekend after weekend, with no challenges. If you have a function coming up, he can prepare your property. If it's an outside party, happy to help you. He can also take care of treatments for your property for the entire summer so you can enjoy the outdoors. We know it's a short season in Wisconsin, but so you'd really like to enjoy it every opportunity you get. Kendall is amazing. His product is amazing. His service is amazing. I've seen him literally on my own property help out and crawl under and through and around to make sure that everything's taken care of. So highly recommended. Take the time to get to know Kendall Kirkpatrick at Mosquito and Pest Authority.
Okay, so let's start with the question that's everywhere. Is buying a home even realistic right now? If you've spent even 5 minutes online, you've heard people say it's impossible, it is the best thing to do, and everything in between. So today we're pulling actual comments and conversations from Reddit and Quora about buying a home to break down what is actually true and accurate here in Northeast Wisconsin. Because the answer isn't simply yes or no, it really depends on where you are.
Buying a home is incredibly expensive. It's way more than the mortgage payments. You have to add insurance, taxes, repairs, maintenance, maybe HOA fees. And just because you qualify for a $300,000 mortgage does not mean that you can afford a $300,000 mortgage. My advice, save as much as you can for down payment. That is your goal. Laser focus. Set up a different account. It will take years, but you can make progress. $400 a month is $24,000 in 5 years. It's a long-term goal and require a lot of sacrifices, but good things don't come easy. 8 years ago, I made it a goal to save aggressively for a home. I get paid every 2 weeks and so budget all my monthly expenses based on 2 paychecks. I automatically transferred $300 from the first paycheck to an account called House Savings. In the months when I would get 3 paychecks, twice a year, almost that whole paycheck would go to the house savings account. Same with any bonus or extra income. I finally have enough for a down payment and plan to buy a house next year. Get on the real estate ladder, one of the best things I ever did, both financial and lifestyle-wise.
I do think there is some truth in that. Just because the computer says you can afford a $300,000 or $500,000 mortgage doesn't mean that you want to afford that. And again, that is part of coming in and sitting down with us and going through the pre-approval process. We like to find out, what payment amount are you comfortable with? And from there, we can back in to how much house that is. And then does that align with your goals for buying a house? Or do we maybe need to look at, can we tweak that up or down a bit? Because you do have to add the property taxes, homeowner's insurance, possibly private mortgage insurance. Those things all become part of your total mortgage payment. And again, that's a payment that you have to live with each month and have to be comfortable with. Lots of times I will tell people that mortgage math is funny because we do get to use your gross monthly income in qualifying. However, we don't get to live on our gross monthly income. We also, when we are figuring out what your debt to income ratio is, which we can get into a little bit later, we only have to use the debts that report on your credit report. So we don't have to take into account your cell phone bill, car insurance, your utility bills. So it
Mhm.
really comes down to what is you as the buyer comfortable paying each month. As far as the how to save or saving aggressively for a home, again, that is going to be very individualized, but I would encourage you to talk to us because you don't necessarily have to save for 8 years like this person did. Maybe you only need to save for 1 year and not miss out on 7 years of building equity. When a home appreciates roughly 3 to 5% a
Mhm.
year, you want to make sure that you get in so that you're building that equity. It's not all about having the largest down payment from a financial standpoint.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. One of the things they do say here that I really agree with is whatever payment you can sit down with us and find out what a price point is and what that payment associated would be with taxes and insurance and your the other pieces to the puzzle because it does all become part of your payment. But then whatever your rent is, start to live on that payment and put the difference away so you are building towards your down payment. I think that's a fantastic idea. And your lifestyle will conform to something that you know you can sustain once you own the home. That's fantastic, honestly. And like Pam said, we're concerned about what your comfort zone is because you have to live with it. It's one thing for us to get approved on paper, and I tell every single person I sit down with, really it comes down to what do you want to live with, and we can make sure that meets your goals and your comfort zone in the same place because there is a spot where they actually come together.
When my wife and I were buying our home, we knew to make the most of it, it would be best if we bought a fixer-upper and live with me having to commute to work. We ended up with an older home built in the 1930s in a poor neighborhood about 45 minutes away from my job. No homeowners association, taxes are lower compared to where I work, but the home itself needs some work, which we are slowly doing. And they talked about purchasing an older home that needed some work. I mean, my first home
Yeah.
had good bones, but cosmetically was one of the ugliest things I had ever seen. I didn't even really want to buy it.
Uh,
But we spent time, a lot of time and some money ripping out the green shag carpeting and replacing some countertops and slowly doing those things, which will in turn also help you build equity in your home. So
yes.
when you sell it, you will have more equity. I tell people to try and take the emotion out of it and look at your home as an investment as well. It is a very emotional process, and obviously, you
Mhm.
want to be emotionally invested in your home, but also look at your home as an investment. If you can get your foot in the door now and you just have to do some sweat equity or spend a little bit money or a little bit of money to paint and carpet and things that are relatively easy to fix, I say get in now and start building that equity.
Yeah, I agree with you very much. One of the challenges that I see is younger people think they're going to move into the home that the parents owned, the house they grew up in, and that might have been their parents' second or third home, depending, or they were there through the process. Right? My own kids were. My Each of my kids have bought their own home at this point. They aren't the home that they grew up in. You know what I mean? That also wasn't the first home I ever owned that they grew up in. So getting started is very important, though. If you just put it off and put it off, you made the point a little earlier in a different situation, but uh, just to use some simple math, a $200,000 home that appreciates 5% a year, which is historically the number, in 5 years, that's going to be 25% more, right? So that's going to be a $250,000 home. Well, if you're waiting to buy that, everything is going to go up. And that $50,000 in equity over 5 years is literally going to be better in your pocket than it is in the next person's. And you're still paying a landlord or somebody else in between time. So sitting down to do some math and look at how this can work for you is literally, it's how we build wealth in the United States, is through homeownership and through real estate. Take advantage of it because you got to live somewhere.
I am also outpriced in my state. I work from home, so I started looking at each state that I would like to live in. New Jersey is my current state, and if you look in the tri state area, anything I can afford is either in the ghetto or it's extremely outdated or a dump. I would like to live in Florida in the Pompeo Beach area, some scenario, so I kept looking for warm spots within reason of the beach. I don't care for the beach, but would love the breeze. What I found, I can move to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, get a 3-2 house, townhouse, or condo that would cost me about $1,600 a month, 20% down. I'm going in June to house hunt.
So what I would say to that is, again, relating back to the Fox Valley in Wisconsin, some of these places in the United States are extremely expensive. Having said that, what the one person is doing is looking at other places they can work from home or other places to live. Wisconsin is a place that people are coming to. It's also what is continuing to make our value, our home values, sustainable and continuing to appreciate. Whereas you'll hear in some parts of the world, United States specifically, values aren't necessarily sustaining. They are going down instead of up. They have other challenges in those areas with insurance and some other things that we don't have. The schools are better here than they are in a lot of parts of the United States. So there is demand here, but it's in a good way because it's already much more affordable in other areas. And it's also the people I've talked to that have moved here from other areas find it to be much more enjoyable compared to other areas as well. And just in terms of how people work together and live together. And it's a community that we have here that we might not always appreciate, but literally it's very nice compared to some parts of the United States. Does anyone view owning property as unrealistic? With soaring housing costs, outdated zoning laws that will never change, housing shortages, skyrocketing cost of living, etc., I fail to see how owning a home is even a possibility anymore. People look at me like I'm crazy when I say I don't see home ownership in my future, but it's the truth. What are your views on this? Do you see this as realistic?
Wow, that person might have been having a bad day. There's a lot to unpack in that comment there. And again, we don't know where this person currently lives. Bringing it back to Northeast Wisconsin, yes, our values have gone up over the past handful of years, and that's a good thing. That has created wealth for a lot of people. Yeah. That will continue to create wealth for those who get their foot in the door. I always tell people buying a home should be something you do when you're ready. And by ready, I mean you have a stable job, you feel like this is a place where you're going to stay for a while, then jump on that real estate train and get building that equity. Because again, it almost relates back to the time value of money a little bit. You know, you want to get in as soon as you can. Are there housing shortages? Right now, we are experiencing some housing shortages in Northeast Wisconsin, especially at certain price points. And other price points, there's plenty of inventory. Yeah. And so we help those buyers. We help guide them. We get them pre-approved. We work with them. We will renew their pre-approval. We stick with them until they find their home. So it might take longer today than it did 10 years ago, but you absolutely will find that home. You mentioned before, it's how we build wealth here in the United States. And I think purchasing what you can afford when you can afford it is the best way to get started.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, the person that made this comment, I'd question, did they actually sit down with a professional to get actual advice? I know AI is out there and you can Google things and you can learn a lot online, but if you sit down with someone face to face and take advantage of their experience and what they really know and help you guide through, because what you interpret from the internet may or may not actually fit your situation. It's just a real thing, and you make assumptions, and then it's easy to go down a rabbit hole, we all know, on the internet, and it can get to be an ugly rabbit hole. But the truth is, if you sit down with somebody that understands the market, understands the local market especially, and what the local situations are, you can get a lot better at least foothold and or platform to move forward with, and we'll put a plan together for you. So if it's not today, we can help you understand when it can be and what it takes to get there. And we're more than happy to do that.
Also, I think it's good to point out that we know a lot of local real estate agents. So we can put a team together to support you in all aspects of the home buying process. This person mentioned outdated zoning laws. We can put you in touch with somebody who knows a little bit more about our zoning laws. And in fact, I do know locally in Northeast Wisconsin, they are working to change some of that zoning laws so that they can bring some more affordable housing into our area. So again, it's very localized
Yeah.
as to what's going on in each market.
I literally just talked to a person today that I helped buy their first home back in 16. They bought another home in 20. And literally now they're selling to buy that third home, which is the home that anybody would aspire to. But they went through the process, you know what I mean? And they didn't start with the home anybody would aspire to, but they built equity over time, not just from making payments, but the property values increased. So they had the big down payment. In fact, they have 50% down on the home that they want to buy after they sell this home. So the key is to get started. The key is to sit down and understand what that math looks like. The key is to not go down these rabbit holes of it's never going to happen, because the truth is it absolutely can.
It absolutely can happen. And I liked your point earlier too, when you said, that equity is building. And so the home that maybe costs $200,000 today, in 5 years is going to cost $250,000. And if you are just trying to save, you are chasing a price point that's always going to be moving. So again, that's where, like you said, getting into that starter home, building that equity, and then rolling it into the next one, and then rolling it into the next one. I think if you ask a lot of people, that's how they do it.
Yeah, 100%.
I also think, if somebody thinks, oh, it's too late for me now, I don't think it's ever too late. As long as you have the ability for the upkeep on the home, it's not too late. It's not something like, well, I didn't buy a home in my 20s, so I guess I'm out. No, buy a home when you can and start building that wealth. Because as your point earlier, you're always paying a mortgage. Yeah. It's just, is it your mortgage or is it your landlord's mortgage?
100%. That's true. And I've done mortgages for first-time home buyers in their 50s. So, and they were the most excited people to have their home, and they had worked a long time to get there, and they had some significant setbacks on the path, but they did get there, and they were just ecstatic. And it was, that's one of the fun parts of our job, is to sit down with people when we go to closings, a party, right?
Yeah,
they're
very
getting
rewarding.
the keys to their home. It's the most satisfying part of our job. So we're very happy to put the work in with you to help you get there, so we can be at that same table with you when you're getting your keys.
No such thing as too late.
No,
but I own a house. It's pretty run down still. We've had to fix so much already. It's crazy. But I also live in a state that offered a first-time homeowner's down payment grant. The only rules were you had to live in the home for at least 5 years after, attend a new homeowner's class, and could not own any property before. I know it's pretty shit out there for those who want a home. Check out your state or local government websites for programs that help. Our house may be run down, but we don't have to deal with rent or terrible landlords. Definitely, you want to take advantage of any grants or programs that are offered, and we can certainly help you with that.
Yep. No, there's more opportunities available out there than you might think. And it's worthwhile to sit down with professionals that do this every day and find out what those opportunities are without you maybe searching for days online or wherever else you might want to search. So I would say that for sure. But to the people's point here, they bought a house 4 years ago at that point, that before prices went insane. I will tell you that, and I'll speak here locally in Wisconsin and in the Fox Valley for sure, home values aren't going down. If you're waiting for home values to go down, prices to go down before you get involved, you're going to wait a long time. That's just the reality. It's a demographic situation, how many people there are that want to buy versus how much is available. Goes back to some of those supply concerns. And the truth is, you can't build 100 houses in the Fox Valley overnight. That supply isn't going to get fixed overnight. And your opportunity, when you come across it, is going to be now, so that in 5 years, when property values continue to go up, you have that down payment. I tell people all the time when I sit down with them, I bought my first house a long time ago for $89,000. And that house, I was going to live there forever because I grew up in the same house my whole life, right? Well, I didn't live there forever. I am the statistic. We lived there for 7 years. What happened was was just me and my wife. 7 years later, I had 2 kids and a third one on the way. She told me we needed a bigger house. I like it when I get home at night, my key still works in the door. So we got a bigger house. Okay. But I sold that house for $125,000. So the truth, I had the down payment for the big house. You know what I mean? We didn't have that for the first house, but we did for the second house, and we grew into it. The biggest takeaways from today are to, number one, sit down with a professional so that you can see what your numbers look like, see what the math fits into your budget, so to speak, but into your lifestyle as well, and see what your comfort zone is. What is that price point? All right. Also, to then, once you sit down, see what kind of plan you can put together to get involved sooner rather than later. If homeownership is on your horizon, whatever that horizon looks like, the sooner you get involved, the sooner you're going to lock in your payments as opposed to rent going up, the sooner you're going to start building equity instead of your landlord's equity and take advantage of those opportunities that are here for you.
And I would add to that, just remember Northeast Wisconsin, again, real estate is very specific to the area you're looking in. Here in Northeast Wisconsin, it is still affordable, and it is much more affordable than it is in some other locations in the United States. So don't get frustrated by that.
Yeah.
Put a plan together, put a team together, including a good local real estate agent and a good local lender such as Waterstone.
Yep. Take advantage of the opportunity. It really is there.
Buying a home today isn't easy, but it's definitely not out of reach. It just looks a little bit different than it used to. So if you have questions about things you've seen online, or you're ready to put a plan together to buy your home, please give us a call at Waterstone Mortgage. We would love to help. And if you found today's information valuable, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.